Hey everyone, it's Mark and Gonzo here at Dungeon Class, and today we're going to talk about B-list villains that can tear you up.
Today we're talking about monsters, and if you have any monsters that you like to use in your campaign, please tell us down below in the comments. We'd like to hear from you. And while we're talking about comments, please join the class by subscribing and make sure you hit the notifications bell.
All right, Mark. B-list villains, B-list monsters. We're going through the monster manual, and we're looking at... Actually, what we're doing is trying to find some sweet low-level monsters that can really terrorize your players group, your playing group, your the people that you're trying to decimate as a dungeon master. I mean,
We don't want to
entertain.
Kill. That's it.
So,
Entertain,
but when we ended up meeting together and we had 3 picked out, they all started with the letter B.
Yeah.
And that was kind of coincidental, but we'll use that. So
we'll run with it.
And why don't you share with us the very first one that you picked out?
All right, this is a nasty, nasty creature called the Banshee. Banshee is pretty rough stuff. Now, it's kind of like a ghost-like kind of character. Only comes out at night, but she has some pretty sweet things. First of all, as a kind of adventure hook kind of thing, what I would probably use her maybe is like a relentless assassin kind of thing. What if like a lich sent this? Because one of her features says that she doesn't require air, food, drink, or sleep. I'm like, that would be the ultimate relentless thing coming after you. Coupling that with one of her abilities, I'll jump down to her abilities and come back and talk about some of her other nasty things. But she has a feature called Detect Life, and she can detect life within 5 miles. So what better assassin, tracker kind of assassin than someone that doesn't require air, food, drink, or sleep, and can detect you within 5 miles? I would, as a DM, it says she can find any life within 5 miles. I'd probably tweak that a little bit, where she can find a specific individual.
So like a hunter-killer or someone that's designed
Terminator
to go after
almost.
someone.
But just will not stop, relentless.
Okay.
And she has some pretty rough things that make her pretty tough. So this is a challenge level 4 character. Okay. So she's getting up there a little bit, but she has damage resistance. She's resistant to air. I say she, and the picture is a she, but it can be she or he. Damage resistant acid, fire, lightning, thunder, bludgeoning, piercing, and slashing from non-magical attacks. So she resists all of those things. So that's rough.
A lot. Yeah.
Right. And then damage immunity, immune to cold, necrotic, poisons. Condition can't be charmed, exhausted, frightened, grappled, paralyzed, petrified, poisoned, prone, or restrained. Yeah, so that and it
do
only
you blow on her?
Yeah, you're right. So it only gets worse from there. She has a couple of abilities that really kind of stand out. She has she has a corrupting touch where she does necrotic damage. That's kind of her primary thing. Mm-hmm. Okay, horrifying visage. Each non-undead creature within 60 feet of the Banshee that can see her must succeed on a DC Wisdom saving throw or be frightened for 1 minute. 1 minute, that's 10 rounds. That pretty much takes you out of the fight for the most part. So that's rough. And then the whale. Holy cow. Mm-hmm. Once a day. Thankfully, she can only do this once a day.
Mm-hmm. Unless you as a DM decided you want it to be more, depending on the level of your character's party.
Yeah, you can really amp it up, make it a thing like that, or maybe it recharges, like some dragons have a recharge kind of thing. So maybe that. So the Banshee releases a mournful wail, provided that she isn't in sunlight. This wail has no effect on constructs and undead. Well, unless you're playing with a party of undead and constructs, that's your whole party.
Yeah.
All other creatures within 30 feet of her that can hear her must make a DC Constitution saving throw. On a failure, a creature drops to 0 hit points. Boom, dead.
Yeah.
On a success, creature takes 10, which is 3d6 psychic damage. So if you fail the saving throw, you're done. That's pretty nasty. So
that is nasty, and I picture the same thing, like you said. I'd love the idea of using this in a form of not just a random monster or something that's in a dungeon or a cave, but something that's specifically sent after maybe one of your characters. Maybe one of their backgrounds, they're doing something or have done something in the past to anger somebody enough to send a Banshee out after them, and they know it. It'd be awesome if the players kind of knew that this thing's tracking them, trying to find them, and you could pop it in on them at any time. So
it reminds me of that when they deck of many things. One of the things you pull is you feel like you're being chased by something. You're being chased by a demon or devil or something. So you're being chased. That makes it. Talk about tension. There's something out here tracking us and it's trying to kill us.
Yeah.
And it only comes out at night and it's creepy.
Well, that's a great B-list villain there.
B-list
villain. Monster.
All right. Okay.
And what page was that? Page 23?
Page 23, the Monster Manual.
Yep. Well, I'm flipping over to page 241 in your Monster Manual. Okay. Yeah, down at the back in the oozes section. Now,
so you were all the way in the back and you still made a B.
And it still is a B. Yeah, and that's because the name of the one I'm actually going to use, and you'll see the graphics here in front of you, is the black pudding. Now, it may sound like it's something that you can,
Sounds delicious.
Yeah, sounds great to eat or something, but that's not what it is. In
fact, you make a pudding pop out of it?
Maybe when it's dead you could, but I wouldn't want to eat it because it's basically acid. So these things are terrible, and I want to read a portion of this just so that you can kind of get an idea of how terrible they are. A black pudding resembles a heaving mound of sticky black sludge. In dim passageways, the pudding appears to be little more than a blot of shadow. Flesh, wood, metal, and bone dissolve when the pudding ebbs over them. Stone remains behind, wiped clean. These are really cool. One of the things about them is their armor class is 7.
Oh,
squishy. Easy to hit, right?
No problem.
Yeah, almost everyone can. I mean, unless you roll a 1 or something, it'd probably be you're probably guaranteed to hit them.
Yeah.
They do have, on average, 85 hit points, but not too bad. They're a creature level 4 or challenge rating 4, so even 85 for a challenge rating 4 group or a party, that's not too bad. They could take that out. The problem begins with their immunities, and as you guys know, immunities means they take no damage. They're not resistant.
Right.
Resistant means half. When they're immune to something, they take no damage from acid, cold, lightning, slashing, which is every sword and whatever, blinding, charmed, deafening, exhaustion, and frightening or prone. So, like your Banshee, there's not much you can do. So,
yell at it,
bludgeoning damage, you're going to have to use bludgeoning damage. You're going to have to use maybe piercing things like arrows, stuff from afar, and fire, which luckily most magicians have an ability to, shoot fire at some point. So, so that's pretty cool. The other thing is that their coolest ability that I found was it isn't their attack. They can't attack you. They can shapeshift and, Pseudopod arm hits you or something, does quite a bit of damage. But it's that when they hit you, unless your armor is magical, it takes basically an acid damage, and it gets lowered by 1 each time it's hit. So if you have leather armor, which gives you a 12 armor class, you now have an 11 armor class. And that's kind of a permanent feature to that armor.
Damage.
So if you get hit 2 or 3 times, your armor that you're wearing could really become useless. On top of that, if you get hit 5 times, it's completely destroyed.
Whoa.
The same is in reverse. If you hit it with a sword or something, maybe you don't know it's resistant to some of these things.
Yeah.
It takes -1 on its damage that it does. So your great sword that you have and you're swinging it around and it does a D12, now it does 11. And then and if you're a fighter with 2 or 3 attacks, you could lose 3 because you're going to hit it.
You're going to hit
So
it.
the acid damage could basically destroy your weapons. Now, it doesn't work against magical weapons, which is great.
Yeah.
And hopefully some of your players have that.
Right.
But that is really destructive. On top of that, it has
nasty.
spider climb. And these things are not intelligent. They're used by, a lot of evil wizards or whatnot, or even people that have some kind of dungeon or lairs will kind of corral these things and use them. They'll dig a pit. And so instead of a regular pit trap, they'll put a black pudding in the bottom of that. So your players, maybe fall into that.
Surprise!
And also that, they can put them up on the top and they can drop in on people.
Following you. That's great.
Yeah. So that can really hurt. So, and then here's the best part. And I'll read this. When a pudding that is medium or larger is subjected to lightning or slashing damage, it splits into 2 new puddings if it has at least 10 hit points. So in the beginning, you're basically creating more monsters to fight.
Nice.
And each new pudding has a hit points equal to half of the original puddings. So if it had 85 to begin with, each one has 42, 43, whatever.
But that
creating
adds
more-
up to more attacks.
That's right.
You know, because you got more crit. Wow.
That's right. These are great to use. Great to use in your dungeon. I picture it being used. I do picture it in a dungeon scenario being used where it's either being laid into a trap or just, maybe the clues are there where when the players come into a hallway, they see it's wiped clean. Like the concrete, the stone is just clean as a whistle. There's nothing, not dust or anything. That should be a clue that something's been cleaning these dungeon halls. And this would be a great thing that you can hide in the darkness. Even with dark vision, they may not see it. So anyway, I thought this was really pretty powerful for a creature level challenge rating 4.
No, that's great. Yeah.
So don't,
I have to say, Gonzo, I'm distracted by your hoodie.
I'm sorry.
That's a sweet hoodie.
That's as cool as your
really
shirt.
like it. Yeah. So these are available down in the description. We'll tell down there. These are our new shirts that are our new merchandise that's celebrating over 500 subscribers. Thank you so much for those subscribing. And we wanted to kind of celebrate that a little bit, kind of harken back to the time when we started playing, which was the 80s. And so we kind of made it 80s style. So if Dungeon Class was around the 80s, this is maybe what our logo would look like.
Yeah, I love these shirts. Get yourself one. Pick one out.
2, 3,
order it.
4.
2, 3, 4,
Buy 'em for the
whatever.
whole
And
family.
anything we make on that, it just helps the channel improve a little bit.
Upgrade some equipment and stuff.
Yeah,
and
we definitely
add
need
on
that.
to our studio and
Yeah.
all that good stuff. All right, well, I was distracted a bit, but this
that
leads
happens.
us to another nasty thing: a bearded devil.
Oh, you
Right.
mean like a hipster or something?
Yeah, he's yeah. Well, this hipster can attack with his beard, which I think is a really cool feature, by the way. But so I'm just going to go over some of the things that you can't hit it with. First of all, it is a challenge rating of 3. So this is a little bit easier than the other things we talked about. Sure. Well, they are resistant to cold, bludgeoning, piercing, and slashing from non-magical attacks, not made with silvered weapons.
Wow.
Damage.
That's every physical attack then.
Yeah, because not everyone's running around with silvered weapons.
Yeah.
So that's resistant. They're immune to fire, poison, and they can't be poisoned themselves.
Mm-hmm.
And then it gets better. Now these I like. So it has something called Devil's Sight, and it magical darkness that doesn't impede the devil's dark vision. Now see, I immediately thought, having played a warlock, one of my favorite tricks was to cast darkness on myself in my area so that anyone attacking would have disadvantage, and then I have dark vision that I can see out. So I have advantage on attacks, and the monster attacking me has disadvantage. That's one of my favorite. Whoa, hold up. This one here says it doesn't impede their dark vision, so they'll see right through it, no problem. So I'm like, that negates that little trick that warlocks use. Magic resistance. The devil has advantage on saving throw against spells and other magical effects. That really been a hard time for wizards and sorcerers.
Stinks.
Yeah, that's not going to be good.
Yep. Especially, all these that we've mentioned, I know I cut you off, but especially when the players don't know these things. So they're using up spell slots, and the DM is saying, yeah, you hit it with that fireball, and it seems like it's unfazed. It's just kind of doing its thing. It's ready to go after you. So,
missed it. Yeah.
And people are like, what?
What was that?
Yeah.
Right. So good. So
unless they watch our video, then they know everything about these.
yeah. Right. Yeah. And that may happen one day. One day, everyone will have known everything in the world.
Yeah, we spoiled
it. So steadfast. This one's not as bad. Devil, can't be frightened. Well, I can see an allied creature, so you can't do any kind of frightening kind of things. But I love the fact that it can attack with its beard. All right, so it attacks with it has a beard attack and a glaive attack. The beard attack does piercing damage. The target must succeed on I should say it does 1d8 plus 2 piercing damage. It has a plus 5 to hit. When it does succeed on a hit, you must do the person that is hit and must do a DC 12 Constitution saving throw or be poisoned for 1 minute. That's pretty much the whole fight.
Yeah.
While poisoned this way, the target can't regain hit points. That could be bad. Can't necessarily be healed. The target can repeat the saving throw at the end of each of its turns, ending the effect on itself on a success. The glaive attack gets pretty nasty. It has a nasty effect. So first of all, it does 1d10 plus 3 slashing damage. Okay, that's kind of rough.
That's not bad.
Oh, it gets better than that. If the target is a creature other than an undead or a construct,
again,
I don't know how many times in a party. I've not been many parties where you have a construct or an undead
zombie
player. Yeah, I know. So if that's the case, neither of those things. They must succeed on a DC Constitution saving throw or lose 5 hit points, which is at 1d10, so average of 5 hit points at the start of each of its turns due to an infernal wound. Each time the devil hits the wounded target with this attack, the damage dealt by the wound increases by 1d10. You wound a person, they get this wound on them, that's bad. And then every time they hit them, they do an additional damage because of that wound. So you've got to stop and take care of that wound. It really kind of forces that issue. Any creature can take an action to staunch the wound. Now, again, that's not automatic. They can staunch it with a successful D12 wisdom as a medicine check. So it's not even saying that healing works per se. You have to do... Well, you probably could, because it says any player can do the medicine check. So I would say, probably as a DM, you could heal with the healing spell.
But what it does is it changes the action economy of the fight, because it forces someone to have to do something to stop that from happening. It takes someone's turn away from them, basically.
Right.
And it shouldn't always be the cleric.
No, right. I know, right.
Heal me.
It takes away, but it does say the wound also closes if the target receives magical healing. So that does. So there's one more spell slot.
Awesome.
So that's a nasty thing. Bearded Devil. I just love the idea of a creature that can fight with its beard. That's pretty.
Well, that's pretty cool. And again, I think one of the best parts of us going through the monster manual and finding these different monsters that are challenging is that the story behind them and how you can use them. And as dungeon masters, there's nothing much more fun than picking something that you think will challenge your group, your party, and then seeing that come into play. And, as much as we talk these B-list villains up, your party may be able to wipe them out in one round, depending on how creative they are, how smart they are, and, their teamwork ability, all those things. But we feel that these are pretty challenging. They have different aspects to them than just hit points with the sword. There's other things that you can do with them and add them to the story. I think it can only make it more fun. So
I agree. And with that,
class dismissed.